जय जगन्नाथ फ्रेंड्स दिस वासुदेव पंडा वेलकम टू मास्टर इंग्लिश पहले +2 इंग्लिश आर्ट साइंस कॉमर्स पे मान 2 मार्क सिलेक्शन क्वेश्चन आसंता बोर्ड परीक्षा पाए ओके एतिकी पढ़ा एतिकी पढ़ले सफिशिएंट ए भितर ही 100% 2 मार्क विशिष्ट प्रश्न आसब बुझीगला तेणु विलंब करवा ना भिडियोटी को स्टार्ट करने पूर्व जदि नुआरे देखुचे चैनल टी सब्सक्राइब करने भूलवा ना भिडियो को लाइक आउ शेयर करदे पे जहाँफल समस्त पाखे पहुँची पार मुझे सब कही थाए पिलामानकर सब्सक्रिप्शन मत एनकरेज करे परवर्ती समय ये क्लास करने एवं तुम गोटे गोटे लाइक निश्चित भाव में मत इंस्पायर कर कि भविष्य में तुम माने ये जहाँ तुम मान लाभदायक ये वीडियो तैयारी करने ताहले विलंब करवा नहीं पे सबू माने तुम बहिर पूरा एक्सट्राक्ट अच्छी शेष पर्यंत देखा
देखिवा कौन रही प्रश्न गुड़िक बेले प्रथम प्रश्न व्हाट रीजन डज चर्चिल गिव फॉर इज नॉट डूइंग वेल इन द एग्जामिनेशन क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 this short treatment had only one result. What are the only result? What are the reason for such result? Question number 3 what did Churchill write in the answer book for the Latin paper? Question number 4 this was more remarkable. What are the more remarkable thing that Churchill referred to? Question number 5 what are Churchill's performance in the Latin paper? Did he do well in the paper? If not, why? Question number 6 what made Dr. Weldon recommended for admission in favor of Churchill? Question number 7 we were afterwards to be cabinet colleagues. What do we refer to? Question number 8 what did Churchill win a prize at school? Question number 9 how did many boys senior to Churchill perform in the exam? Question number 10 explain the term in an unplanned. Question number 11 what did Churchill do night before by way of his final preparation for his exam? Question number 13 how does Churchill give emphasis on English subject? Question number 14 which part of the English grammar did Churchill learn from Mr. Somerville? Question number 15 how did Churchill score over the cleverer school fellows in after years? Question number 16 was the grandmother a religious person? 17 why could not the grandmother help the writer with his lesson at the city school? 18 why was grandmother disturbed about music lesson at the English school? 19 what are the grandmother's happiest moment on the first day of his arrival? How long the grandmother had spent with them? Question number 20 how did the grandmother celebrate the author's return in the evening? Does her behavior appear odd to you? Question number 20 what made the grandmother unhappy? Question number 21 she said nothing but her silence meant disapproval. What does the expression her silence mean disapproval refer to? Question number 22 how did the grandmother spend her afternoons when the writer went to university? 23 what are the happiest time of the day for the grandmother? 24 what did the writer learn in the English school when he went to the city? 25 why did the grandmother feel unhappy? 26 why was the writer sure of his grandmother to be disappointed? Question number 27 what are the grandmother's behavior when she saw the writer stop at the station? 28 when did the writer come back home and what was his feeling? Question number 29 how did the grandmother receive the writer when he came back from abroad? Question number 30 on what do the Indians focus during work? 31 what destroys teamwork? 32 what does the author mean by a hidden agenda? Question number 33 what does a good work ethic imply? 34 according to the writer what affects team performance in India? 35 what are the job of RAM? Question number 36 how do diversifying tasks help workers? 37 why is it difficult to build teams in India? 38 when did outbreaks of poliomyelitis plague America? 39 when did Roosevelt find out that he was a victim of polio? 40 which things are the carriers of polio virus? 41 what happens when the virus enters the bloodstream? 42 what are the highest position did Roosevelt achieve in his political career? 43 why was polio frightening contagious disease? 45 why was polio considered as a fearful disease? 46 why was it impossible at times to put polio in check despite advance in medicine? 45 what were Father Gilligan's words of gratitude to God? 46 what qualities of Father Gilligan do you admire? 47 why did Father Gilligan avoid to sway to and fro? 48 why did the priest ride with little care? 48 how did Father Gilligan react when he woke up from his sleep? 49 what does flock refers to? 50. Why was the father upset? 51. What did Father Gilligan complain of? 51. What does Longfellow say about life? 52. What does Longfellow mean by life is real, life is earnest? 53. What is Longfellow's observation on soul? 54. What does Longfellow say about the goal of life? 55. What is Longfellow's observation on art? 56. Be a hero in the stripe. Is it inspiring? Call of Longfellow. 56. Why does the poet prefer the present to past and future in the poem Sam of Life? 56. What do the lives of great men remind us? 57. What is the most important thing you have learned from the television? It tells about. What important thing that the poet says about children and TV? Then what is the poet's advice to the poet parents? What does the poet advise the parent? What had the poet was in every house? How do children act while watching TV? Then how do children behave while gaping at the screen? What does the poet say about what is shown on TV? What are the undesirable sequences of watching TV according to the poet? What poetic device does the poet use in the extract? Give example. What is the common phenomenon in every home regarding children watching TV? What does the poet Lawrence doubt? How does a man behave when he parts with a 10-pound note? How does a person feel when Lawrence parts with a 10-pound note? Why? Account for the poet's frequent reference to quail. What is the difference between the money madness and mankind and an individual? What are we really afraid of, money or money mad man? What do polio say about a man's worth? How do money mad men treat the man without money? What does mankind say with one voice about money? Next question. How does Mr. White feel about living in their isolated location? What is the significance of the monkey's paw in the story? Why does Sergeant Major Morris throw the monkey's paw into fire? What does Mr. White wish for using the monkey's paw? What does monkey's paw react when Mr. White makes his wish? What tragic news does the stranger bring to the White family? What is Mr. White's reaction when she learns about Herbert's death? What does Mr. White demand Mr. White to do with the monkey's paw after Herbert's death? Next question. How did the narrator mother manage her career and finance after the separation? Next question. What led to the narrator's first appearance on the stage? How did the audience react initially? Describe the narrator's action during his first performance and the audience response. Next question. How did the stage manager assist the narrator during the performance and what was the result? What was the impact of the narrator's performance on his mother's and her career? Explain how the narrator's mother's financial situation deteriorated after her loss of voice. What role did religion play in the narrator's mother's life following her loss of voice? How did Steve Jobs view the relationship between his college experience and his later career success? Next question. What overarching lesson does Steve Jobs convey about trusting in one's future and life choices? What was Steve Jobs' reaction to being fired from Apple and how did it impact him personally? How did Steve Jobs firing from Apple ultimately benefit his career and personal life? What lesson did Steve Jobs learn from his experience of being fired from Apple according to his speech? How did Steve Jobs describe his emotional state and professional outlook after leaving Apple? ତା ସହିତ ଆଉ mystery of the monkeys ପାର ଦୁଇଟା question ଅଛି ପିଲେ. What type of man was Mr. Maharana and what do you think? What is the character of Mr. Bir Kishore? Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, Master of English. Jai Jagannath.